This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
So good, so good, so good.
New markdowns up to 70% off are at Nordstrom Rack stores now. Fresh kicks, spring tops, new dresses. There's always a score.
I mean, the denim section is unreal.
Why do I rack? All the dresses.
I always find something amazing.
Head to your Nordstrom Rack store to find can't-miss deals on all the spring things. Great brands, great prices. That's why you rack.
God has created a purposeful design in all of his creation. And that starts with the mother and father and goes on. I mean, that's way back to Genesis from the beginning. And the problem is what the devil does. He takes whatever purposeful design that he can do, and he will take it and skew it as much as he can. And sometimes it's a big skew. Sometimes it's just a minute little skew. I mean, Pastor brought this up Sunday.
Welcome to Real Man Talk, discussing the tough issues facing men and their families every day. Here's Anthony Kernott and Carla Sau.
What's up, guys? Welcome to Real Man Talk. Today, Kyle and I are going to have a conversation about fatherhood, which, anybody who's listened to the podcast for a while understands that between the two of us, we've got 11 kids. Now, here's the thing. Lot. That is a lot. It's kind of hard when you say it that way. And it
is. Oh,
man. But ours are in different stages, right? My youngest is 4.
Yeah.
Your oldest
is 4.
Is 4, right? And so my oldest is 20, right? And I'm telling my age. I'm quite a bit older than Kyler, if you didn't know that.
Quite a bit. Yeah.
But fatherhood is something that Kyle and I both obviously are passionate about. And it's no shortage of conversations to have about fatherhood. We've talked about it extensively, continuously on here. And we will continue talking about fatherhood because it is one of our most important roles that we play as a man, is to raise the next generation of children, of godly men and women, right? I should say. Mm-hmm. And, and really there's an epidemic in the church, in society, really. I mean, even outside of, church, there's an epidemic of fatherlessness.
Yes.
And, we did a ministry that was geared towards boys without dads.
Yeah.
And, it's heart-wrenching, right? These guys, these young boys that have nobody to show up to ball games, and these boys that have never been hunting, never been fishing, never been, and we live in boondocks, right? I mean, the closest town to us we are the biggest town, right? And there's 17, 18, maybe 20,000 people in Papa Bluff.
Yeah.
The closest town closest to it is Cape Girardeau. Right. That's an hour and a half away.
Yeah.
Right. Like we live in the sticks, and these boys have never been fishing. They've never been hunting. They've never had somebody teach them, how to handle a pocket knife. How do we eat? And life is not all about that.
Right.
I had a young, and I'll tell you what it's like. I had a young man one time. This has been a few years ago, and we were on a youth trip, and he had came. This was the first time he had came. I'll never forget this. And he was putting deodorant on, right? Mm-hmm. And he was putting deodorant on his shirt. It was in his armpit, but it was on his shirt. Nobody had ever told him how to put on. He was 15, 16 years old. He didn't have a dad. His dad wasn't present. Right. Nobody had ever showed him. And I remember some of the boys kind of giving him a hard time, and it just broke my heart.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I'm like, man, where are the dads? Right. You know what I mean? Who, teaching our young men how to shave, teaching our young men, let's be honest. I mean, let's be real practical. How to make a budget.
Yeah.
How to, how to, be responsible with our money,
right.
how to, all these different things. They don't have anybody.
No.
Right. And so, life is not about just hunting and fishing, but we are supposed to be raising the next generation of godly young men and women.
Yes.
Yeah. And without being able to do that, without men doing their jobs, we have a generation right now that is lost. Look at our colleges.
Yeah.
Look at our colleges. Look at the way that people act, right? The wokeism, people they have no direction. They have no. And I tell you this. Anybody who follows me on Facebook or anything like that, I recently posted a video. Mm-hmm. I've been reading this book called "Why Does God Allow Evil" by Clay Jones. It's a phenomenal book. One of the things that he talks about is heaven worth it? Right. So we're talking about evil, right? With all this stuff, is heaven worth it? And he begins to discuss how people are afraid of heaven.
Right.
Right. People are nervous of heaven and stuff. And this is not the direction I was going to go, but this is where we ended up at.
Just take it.
And so I was curious. So between TikTok and between Facebook, we have somewhere, 5,000-6,000 followers. Right.
Right.
So I posted on both of those. And I genuinely just wanted to know. I'm not looking to start debates, anything like that. I just want to know people's opinion. And I was surprised. People are genuinely nervous about heaven. You can blame it on the church all you want.
Right.
But it's not the church's fault.
No.
Right? You can blame it on what? It's the family's fault. It's the father's fault. Right? Where are the fathers that are explaining the word of God to their children, explaining, our hope, our salvation in Jesus Christ is based on a hope that we spend eternity with him in heaven. Right. Right. Yeah, yeah. That's it. That is key. That is our hope.
Right.
Without that, what hope is there?
There's not.
There is not.
No.
There's none. And these people are nervous about the things that should give us hope, that should drive us to make it through the hard times, right? Because our hope is not here in this life. And I thought, man, and then I was thinking about the podcast we're going to do today about fathers.
Right.
And it all correlates, right? And you look at, even naturalistically, let's think about for a moment. It was funny yesterday, or maybe it was this morning. We were talking about there was a high-speed car chase just the other day, right?
Really?
And just ended up right here around the roundabout, right? Just a couple miles from both of our houses. Yeah. And so my oldest daughter, she was talking about, and she said he, and she goes, it could have been a her, but it's most likely a he.
Right.
And I was like, you're right. Right. Crime is mostly done by men.
Yes.
Mostly done by men without fathers.
Right.
Right. What is it like? And I don't have the exact statistic on like imprisonment.
85%.
85% of men inside of prisons come from a fatherless home.
Yep.
It's heart-wrenching.
Right.
Right. The statistic on children that drop out of school. Do you have that one?
71%.
71% of children who drop out of school.
I forgot my seeing eyeglasses. Yeah, 71%.
I may be older, at least I can see. 71% of kids who drop out of school come from fatherless homes.
Yeah.
The statistics speak for themselves.
Right. Then it just goes up from there. 120% are at a greater risk to become a subject of child abuse. 85% usually have behavior disorders. 63% of youth suicides, and they're 7 times more likely to become pregnant as teens. And that's kind of a girl one too. But, youth in general, without fathers in the home, don't have that leadership, don't have that guidance. And usually without a father comes an absent mom too. Right. Because they're providing for both. Right. And so both roles. It's just a domino effect down when men don't step up to take that role. And I know it's probably something you think we harp on, but there's so much importance to a father being present in a household. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you don't believe us, there's the statistics behind everything. Mm-hmm. That shows. I mean, and it's called the National Father Initiative. They have a website, and you can go onto that website and you can see exactly what is happening to our youth. They just did a recent study in 2022, so it's a few years old since then. But even then, I mean, it was on the rise because more and more fathers are just absent. And it's because we have that lack of responsibilities. We're taking that lack of initiative to take care of our families. We want to do whatever we want to, but we don't want to reap the repercussions of our choices. And that's where we have to step up. And if we make a choice, we have to follow it out, whatever that may be.
This episode is brought to you by Coffee Mate. After watching this season of the HBO's original series, The White Lotus, this is the tropical getaway I needed. One more pina colada, please.
Hey, you're not on mute.
Oh, I thought I was in paradise. Turns out it was my Coffee Mate. Coffee Mate pina colada and Thai-iced coffee-flavored creamers. Inspired by the newest season of HBO's original series, The White Lotus. For the love of coffee. Try now.
In your mind, it might be a consequence. It might be a gift. It just depends. But whatever it is, it's your choice. And so it's your effect, cause and effect. And we have to make sure that we as fathers, that we stick to whatever choice we do. And we have to be the protector. We have to be the provider. We have to be the ... Whatever is needed of us, whatever is called of us to do by God is what we have to be.
That's right. You know, and we see a wide effect. Even so when you have, originally, I come from a fatherless home, right? My mom and dad got married whenever I was 6 or 7, somewhere in between there, right? Right. And I remember because it was drastic. It was a drastic change. When my dad moved in, they got married, right? Yeah. The discipline that took place, right? I'm serious.
That's first whooping.
Man, I was brutal. Yeah. I remember cussing my mom out. Right. I mean, even I was thinking about this the other day. Where would I be if my dad hadn't come into my life? Yeah. Right. I mean, there's no telling. I'd probably either be in prison or I'd be another statistic.
I was going to say you'd be statistic. Yeah. Statistic. Anyways, y'all say it.
And, but because of his influence, because of his discipline, right. And it was hard, man, it sucked. Right. Yeah. The whoopings, but seriously, you know what I mean?
And if you're young and you're listening to this, yes, we used to get whoopings.
That's right.
Whoopings. It wasn't pleasant either.
No, none of these spat on the hands. No, there were whoopings.
No, none of this gentle parenting.
No, I'm talking about bleeding whoopings.
You learn to cry real fast.
That's right. I used to coach my little sister. She'd go in, she'd get whoopings. I'm like, listen, if you'll just cry. Yeah. Just cry. It works.
Yeah, it does. You learn. And then you learn with your own kids that it actually does work.
Yeah. And then you're like, you're faking. That does work.
Yeah, I did that. Stop it. I know the difference between a real cry.
That's right. But I even see, and that's a crucial part. Yeah. So even men who are in the home that don't, right? And I had mentioned this before. We had talked about it, and I'm going to use it. But the amount of men that I deal with that I can tell were never disciplined, right?
Yes.
They're 30, 40-year-old spoiled brats. It's like, did nobody tell you that the entire world does not revolve around you?
Nobody did.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and I know that sounds harsh. I know some people are going to take it wrong, but frankly, I don't care. Like, it's one of those things. So when you have as many kids as we do, oftentimes, especially like when they're younger and stuff, Maverick, he's 4. Yeah. And there are times he just thinks that whatever he wants, he should get. Right. I have to consistently remind him, hey, you're not the only person in this house. Yeah. The world does not revolve around you. Right. Right. You get out in society and you think that your poop don't stink. Right.
I told somebody that yesterday.
Like, it don't jive.
No.
Right? It does not work. And
that poor kid, he's got it worse because he had all the older siblings that are giving him anything he wants to.
Oh, my gosh.
Plus, he's the baby.
I tell him it's their fault all the time. Yeah. It's their fault all the time. He whines and they just give him something. I'm like, you guys got to stop. But back on topic to the importance of our role, right, as fathers, to raise up godly men and women, right? Malachi chapter 2 talks about this. One of the reasons why God implemented the family is to spread the gospel, right? Is to spread knowing God from generation to generation.
Yes.
Right. That is part of our job. That's part of the family structure. And our pastor this year, he's really been like, the whole theme is about families.
Right. Bringing families together. And
we were sitting in the council meeting before all this stuff happened. He was kind of throwing his plan out. And I said, Pastor, this is fantastic. Because he asked me my opinion, because I'm one of the younger ones.
Right.
I am the youngest one. Yeah. On the council. And he's like, well, what do you think? I said, man, I think this is great, but I've been preaching this for years. You know what I mean? Years. I'm like, we have to teach men to be good fathers.
Right.
And in order to be good fathers, you have to understand what the family structure is.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. Kyle, you and we've been preaching it for a long time. The family influences the church influences the community.
Yes.
It all starts inside of our homes. Right. Which is the reason why Satan has pulled away from, right, or has tried to pull away from the family structure as much. You look at anything in society naturalistically. They are all trying to destroy the family.
Yes.
All of them. Homosexuality, transgenderism, right? The jokes that are made about fatherless homes.
Right.
Right. The jokes like, oh, well, I guess he went to go get the milk. Right.
Yeah.
Just never, and never come home.
Yeah.
It's, and here we can get caught up in all that stuff and sometimes they're funny. So all this stuff. But the fact that it's common enough.
Yes.
That we can make jokes about it is a problem.
Yes. Well, the problem that there's truth behind it.
Right.
Is the issue.
Yes.
And it's not that necessarily that we're making jokes about it because you're going to make jokes about anything. But the problem is that there's truth behind the joke.
Yes.
Is that there are some dads who go and they never come back.
Right.
That there are dads who are just absent because we have taken the importance out of the home. God has created a purposeful design in all of his creation. And that starts with the mother and father and goes on. I mean, that's way back to Genesis from the beginning. And the problem is what the devil does. He takes whatever purposeful design that he can do and he will take it and skew it as much as he can. And sometimes it's a big skew. Sometimes it's just a minute little skew. I mean, Pastor brought this up Sunday. He goes, our divorce rates are going down, but it's not because people are not getting divorced, is because people are not getting married.
Right.
Now they're just living together.
Yes.
And they're seeing that as a positive. And he goes, it's not a positive. There's no commitment in that. You get mad one day and you leave. And some people are like, well, there's common law marriage. Most states actually abolished common law marriage. Like Missouri, we don't have common law marriage anymore. Yeah. And so most people, what they don't realize is there is no commitment. If you look at the Old Testament, there was covenant after covenant after covenant after covenant made.
Right.
Because it was an agreement between two sides and it held two sides liable between God and his people and people and God. And the problem now is we're trying to take that covenant away. We don't want to be strained. We don't want to be, held down by any one thing. We want to be able to go to and from here. I mean, look at gender. So there's gender fluid. Right. I am over here. I'm over here. I was watching this video the other day. And when I say video, I watched it for 10 seconds. So I couldn't do it anymore. It was this girl and she goes, I am gendered something. I am bi, a girl, and a boy all in one. I feel all three at the same time. I'm like, no, you don't. There is no way. That's called a mental disorder and you're messed up.
Yeah.
But the issue is there's even in that, there's a commitment issue to just one thing. Yes. And what it comes down to is we no longer want to have a covenant to any one thing. We want to be able to go and do as we please. And that bringing that back to fathers is they don't want to have a covenant with the family. Right. Because that gives them responsibility. That gives them some type of pressure that they don't want to have. If we put pressure, we give you a responsibility, then you have to fulfill an expectation. If you don't fulfill that expectation, you feel like you don't meet the mark. You see where I'm going here? It's
Yes.
a domino effect all the way down. And we as America, we have to get back to, well, we as the world have to get back to the point where fathers are held to a standard. They are
100%.
held to an expectation.
Yes.
And if you don't want to hold that expectation, then don't take that step to start a family.
Right.
Just don't.
That's right.
That's your issue. There in the Bible, there is and I can't think of the verse right now, but it says it's better not to have family at all then.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a hard thing to say, and it's a hard concept to grasp. But if you're not willing to make that covenant and step into that responsibility, then don't do it.
Right.
And that's where we're at.
Well, and the thing is we all want to have sex, right? But right on par with what you're saying, none of us want the commitment of having kids, right? And because there is this commitment, it's funny. I was just dealing with somebody just last night. And he made this comment, and I won't put context behind it because there's too much backstory there. But he's like, "Why does the weight always fall on our shoulders? Why does it always have to be us? Right? Why does it always have to be the men?" And I just told him, I said, because we're men.
Right.
That is the way that God designed us.
Yes.
Right. The fact that you don't want to is the fact that you are negating your responsibilities as men because you think they're too hard.
Right. To whom much is given, much is expected.
That's exactly right. We are made to carry heavy weights.
Yeah. Not
only physically, emotionally, right? Everybody talks about how, that we, we shut down and and a lot of that's true, right? We are emotional beings. Men are emotional.
Yeah.
But we are meant to carry heavy weights. Even emotional ones. We are meant to handle hard things.
Right.
Right. That's the way that God designed us. Is it easy? Absolutely not. Does it get overwhelming? Yes, it does. But the problem is this is key. The reason why we cop out is because we continue to try to do them on our own.
Yes.
And we were never meant to.
No.
We are designed to carry heavy things. We are designed to carry heavy weights. We are designed to be strong, but not in and of ourselves.
Right.
And because society is trying to push God out of everything, we have decided that we need to do this on our own.
Right.
And God's going, wait a minute. You were never designed that way.
Yeah.
Yes, I did build you to do hard things. Yes, I did build you to be strong and courageous, and to carry hard things and all this stuff. He said, but I didn't make you to do it by yourself.
Right. Yeah.
That's not it.
No.
And we so many times that's what we try to do.
Yeah.
And then when the pressure gets too hard, instead of turning to God, we just flake out.
Right.
We just flake out and we just check out. Even if we're home, right? It is easier for us to just sit on the couch and check out. Right. Than show up to ball games.
Yeah.
And then sometimes the opposite. It's easier for us to just show up to ball games than to take our kids to church.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Because we're not, it's not our job.
Right.
To raise football players. Right. It's not our job to raise baseball players, basketball players, all this stuff. It's our job to raise godly men. Now there's nothing wrong with those things.
Right.
Right. God has given people talents. That's not what I'm saying.
Right. Yeah.
But I don't know, going off on a tangent. It drives me crazy. The amount of people who will not take their children to church.
Right.
But they will go to every single travel event.
Yep.
They will have their kids in every single sport, to make sure that they will do all this stuff and less than 1% make it to professional.
Oh yeah.
Less than 1%. Right. And it's not about that. I'm all about sports. I love football.
Yes.
Right. All that stuff. But we have to be in a place where we are willing to sacrifice the things that we love to make sure that we are raising godly young men and women.
Yes.
We have to. It is our job.
Yes. And we can't give into the earthly pressures that come with those sports. You know, we have to show up for the team. We have to show up for, the game because they're the third baseman. They're the best player on the team. I mean, I get it. I coached over 100 athletes over the last decade. I mean, I had 200 athletes a year about. And then my last 4 or 5 years, they went down. So I get needing people. I mean, and all the ones that I coached, it all was based off time. I couldn't just switch people in and out.
Right.
I get it. But
this episode is brought to you by LifeLock. During tax season, your personal info travels to a lot of places. Between payroll, your tax consultant, and the IRS. If your W-2 gets exposed, that's just the ticket for identity thieves. That's why LifeLock monitors millions of data points every second. If your identity is stolen, they'll fix it guaranteed or your money back. Don't let identity thieves take you for a ride. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
If we would take that same pressure and we would apply it to church, how much different would your home be? Would your family be? Would your job be?
Right.
Like everything feeds from church. If we took the pressure that people put on us to show up and we put that same pressure on just showing up to church, showing up for the one who created us, showing up for the one who never leaves you, showing up for the one who is in everything for you, the one who provides, the one who doesn't let you just falter all the time, the one who says, you messed up, but that's okay because I still love you anyways. Right. The one who's not going to judge you no matter what you do, the one who's going to say, you know what, you messed up, but that's fine. I can help you come back. The one that's not going to throw you on Facebook and let you comment, watch thousands of comments. That's going to put you on WTF Pop Bluff, And that's where we need to get to is we as fathers, we need to get back to applying pressure to the right places. Right. Is what I guess I'm trying to say. We need to apply the pressure to the church and less to the earth. Right. And don't get me wrong. Church is not going to get you to heaven. Right. It's not. However, when you're around like-minded individuals into a place that is specifically designed to help promote the kingdom, right, then you stand a better chance of getting to the places where you need to be. You stand a better chance of warding off the enemy. You stand a better chance of learning and discipling and getting to a place that is going to feed into your kids, into your community, into your wife, into your household, all the things that should be there. And you'll be on a firmer foundation than any other sport's going to get you.
That's right. Well, it goes back to that statistic. And I think we mentioned the last time we were here about, the 70%. Yeah. Right. And the difference between the 70 and 30 was the 5 people that influenced their lives. Yes. That's parenting. Yes. Right. That is parenting. Listen, I've done a lot of things wrong. Right. I've done a lot of things wrong. We all have. By no means, but I look at Tony and Malachi, right? And I look at the things that even though I did things wrong, there was one of the things that I did right was I consistently tried to surround them with people. Yes. Godly people. I encouraged it, right? As often as I could. They wanted to have a bunch of boys from church over. Let's do it. We'll play Halo. We'll do whatever. Right. You want to go play basketball at the church please. Yes. Right. Please. And don't get me wrong. There were boundaries, right? There were boundaries that, all those things, but having our children around like-minded people, listen, our children are going to make their own decisions. Right. Right. There's no getting around that. But if we can surround them with like-minded people, people that we know, right? One of the things that we've been blessed with at our church is our youth pastors. Yes. Right. And I look at, so just about the time Tony and Malachi, Malachi's married now. He's living on his own. Tony's in college. He's over in Springfield. Yeah. Zach left to take a position, right? Zach was such a phenomenal youth pastor, right? Just
Zach, if you're listening, we're still bitter. Go ahead.
Yeah. We still love you, and you're very much missed. Yes. But then Mackenzie come along. Yes. Right. Oh. And she is so good.
She's phenomenal.
And the way that Amberlyn has adapted to her, right? I have, and it's the same thing. I encourage as much as I possibly can. Yeah. You need to be around her. Yeah. Right. Amberlyn, you need to be around Mackenzie.
Right.
You need godly women in your life.
Feeding
just
into
like the boys need godly men, right?
Yes.
And I can tell a difference.
Right.
I can tell a difference. And it's because of that influence, right? You're right. Church will not get us to heaven. It's not about that, right?
No.
We're talking about, as a parent,
right,
surrounding our kids with the influences they need to succeed in life.
Yes.
Spiritually, right? Yes, schooling's important. Yes, and going back to the whole sports thing, sports are great, right? They teach so much good stuff, right?
Yes.
Nobody's against school sports. Nobody's against any of that stuff.
No, I work for the park department. I mean, I can't be against sports,
right? I mean, all my kids played for the park department, right? You know what I mean? Until they couldn't, until they outgrew it, but completely surrounding them as much as possible, right? With godly men, godly women, you know what I mean? And helping them, coaching them along, right? We are leaders, right? And so what that means is, who are we surrounding ourselves with?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, we're going back. Let's stay on the topic of fathers. If we are trying to surround our children with godly people, but we are in the world. Right. I met with a pastor friend of mine today. We had lunch together, and we were talking something about this stuff. And we were talking about, there's a book, and I wish I could remember the name, and I should have looked it up before we got on the podcast, but she talks about the divorce rates.
Yep.
Right. And how there's practically not much difference percentage wise between outside the church and inside the church. But here's the thing, that number is skewed when you look inside the church and you separate nominal Christian men versus active Christian men, right? The divorce rate for the nominal Christian men, right? The men who just show up is higher.
They check the box.
Right. Is higher than it is out in the world. The abuse, verbal abuse, physical abuse is higher here. When you separate the active Christian men, it's almost not present. She talks about how the wife's relationship with her husband is so much better. How they feel valued. The wives feel valued. How they, all this stuff.
Right.
Coming back to fathers, right? If we just show up to church, it's not enough.
No.
We have to set the example.
Yes.
Right. And I was thinking about that statistic. What makes us angry? What makes us want to lash out? Right. A lot of times, and every man knows this.
Yeah.
A lot of times it's guilt, shame.
Yeah.
Right. You're right. We bottle all that in.
Yes.
And it comes out in anger, right? Because for a lot of us, it's the only emotion we know.
Right.
Right. And so because we're dealing with that, we lash out. And so in that context, it makes sense that the nominal Christians would be acting that because they know better.
Yes.
Right. And so the only way that they know to act out, and I'm no psychologist, right. This is not, whatever, but I know how men operate.
Right.
Right. I know how I operate. And I know that whenever I am dealing with shame, when I'm dealing with condemnation, that I'm not pleasant to be around.
Right.
Right. I'm not. To live your life that way. Right. Coming to church, checking that box, knowing that you should be doing more, knowing that you're not properly leading your family.
Yeah.
Right. Knowing that, and sometimes whether you can negate it to whatever you want, it doesn't matter, whether you just don't know how,
right.
You've never been shown, you didn't have a proper father in your house. There's something there that tells you that you are not doing what's right.
Right.
I deal with it all the time.
Yeah.
Right. I want to be a good father. I don't know how. That is the first step to becoming, to becoming a good father.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
It is okay to not know. I wish so bad one of the things that I deal with the most when it comes to counseling men and stuff like that, it is okay to be broken.
Yes.
It is okay to not know. Right. It's okay.
Yeah.
You're not going to get it right all the time.
No.
You're not perfect. Nobody's expecting you to be perfect. What we have to do is, and we say it all the time. We say, Kyler, we say it all the time. Strive.
Yes.
We have to strive to be better.
Just try.
Yeah.
Wake up every day and just try to do better than yesterday. No one's perfect. You're not going to be perfect. You're going to fail probably 95% of the time at being perfect. But when you get up and you just try, your success rate goes up to 100%. Because all you're doing is trying. And then every single day it gets easier. Every single day you take one step and you're like, okay, I can do this. Yeah. Like we said a statistic before. It was like, what was it? If you read the Bible 4 times a week, it improved stuff.
So, pornography fell off 70%, right? 4 times a week.
Yeah. It helped you deal with the earthly things, right? The earthly temptations. Get up and read your Bible one day a week. And then the next day, try to do 2 days a week or read 5 minutes a day, whatever you can do, but you get up and you try. And if one day you miss, that's okay.
It's okay.
Do the next day. You miss that day, then try the next day. Here's the point is, if you don't get up and you don't try, that's when you fail.
That's when you fail.
And all God has asked us to do is to do our best to try to do whatever we can. I mean, look at the disciples. None of them were perfect. No. I mean, Peter had issues. Judas, well, we all know what Judas did.
Right.
Matthew, I hope he's just like the Matthew in The Chosen, who's like autistic and all this other stuff. I mean, they all dealt with struggles. They all dealt with different things. They were never perfect, but they woke up every single day and they said, I'm going to try to follow you the best I can. Right. And that's we as fathers, that's all he asks us to do is wake up and just try to be what I've designed you to be. Mm-hmm. And if we can just wake up and say, you know what, I'm going to step into that purpose. I'm going to step into that calling to be a father. I'm going to step into your will, Lord. I'm going to step into your footsteps. I'm going to let you guide my path. I'm going to follow your word. Mm-hmm. I'm going to follow your disciples. I'm going to try to be one of those.
That's right.
Then eventually you'll hit the benchmark. You'll hit the mark. Right. You'll start having more success than failures.
That's right.
Because the Lord will then provide the rest.
Right. And you'll learn.
Yeah.
You'll learn, right?
Yes.
You never take a loss, only a lesson, right?
Yes.
It is all about one of my favorite things to tell people. It's all about being better tomorrow than you were today, right? It doesn't matter if that's, leaps and bounds or if it's just a little bit.
Right.
Right. Do something to make sure that you are better tomorrow than you were today, whether it's just learning from a mistake.
Right.
Right.
Don't do that again.
Exactly.
Got it.
That is success.
Yes.
Right. That is success. We act like we have to, and the church is bad about this.
Yes.
I was talking to a gentleman today and, he's like, man, he said, I want to read my Bible, but it's so overwhelming and, all this stuff. And I was like, dude, stop. Mm-hmm. Don't it's not that heavy. Right. It does not have to be that heavy. And, I heard a guy say one time, he said, if you don't read the Bible through in a year, are you even a Christian? Right. And I'm thinking, who the heck are you?
Right. And did you read Leviticus?
Right.
Like, come on now.
Our church for the last several years now.
Yeah, it's been at least 4.
Yeah. Has read the Bible, right? They have like this reading plan and I'm all for it. Right.
Right.
I have never successfully done it. Mm-hmm. As a matter of fact, I tried real hard the first year. I don't get anything out of it.
I've done it twice.
Right.
And only because I like to see that it didn't fail at the top when it counted all the days up. I'm like, I'm at 500 days. Look at me go. I missed one.
But because I can't comprehend things that way. Right. And everybody's different.
Yeah.
And
in the morning, I wake up, I read the chapter, and then I say, ChatGPT, break this down for me. And it does verse by verse, and I understand it. I mean, there's some of the verses I get, some of them I'm like, what did it say? ChatGPT, and it breaks it down.
Yeah.
Don't complicate it.
No.
Take one verse and say, I'm going to learn what this one verse means today. That's it. That's all you need to do because you're opening up the scripture. Right. You are starting at a place, and then eventually you'll get to 2 verses, 3 verses, 4 verses a chapter. Start in the Psalms, start in the Proverbs, whatever the shortest is that you think.
Well, and for me, like right now, I'm doing a study in Hebrews.
Mm-hmm.
I love the book of Hebrews. I've done it 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
And like, I'll go through and I'll read. I will read the same thing for a week.
Yeah.
Right. I'll go through and I'll read it. And every time I get something different out of it. Every single time. It's not about we put so much context on, or so much pressure on quantity.
Right.
It has nothing to do with that. When you look at the disciples, they were all different.
Right.
Every one of them are different.
Yes.
Every one of them operated different. Every one of them had different talents. Every one of them were capable of different things. Right. We are all the same way.
Yes.
None of us, there is not a blueprint on reading the Bible.
No.
There's not a blueprint on studying or on prayer or on, all these different things. The only thing that we were required to do is surrender.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Surrender. Lord, I want something from your word today.
Yes.
Right? I am surrendering myself. I need something from you.
Right.
And then allowing, however you do it, do it.
Right.
Right. However you are capable, however you learn. I tell people this all the time. You look at Paul. When you look at Paul, when he was Saul, right? When we're talking about like the super educated, this highly driven man, the only thing that changed between Saul and Paul was Jesus.
Yes.
Right. The same drive, right? His education did not change.
No.
His drive didn't change. His personality didn't change. None of that stuff changed.
Right.
His mission changed.
Yes.
That was it.
Yeah.
Right. God does the same thing with us.
Right.
He uses us in our talents. Not everybody is the same flipping way. And it drives me nuts.
No.
And I know we're getting off on a tangent, but you as a father, you have to understand that you are the leader.
Yes.
You are the leader. Therefore, you have to set the precedence. You have to do not allow it to overwhelm you. Do not allow it to burden you down. Right. Something that happened to me, and you were there. You were there when it happened, when we did our last day discipleship at the church. And you probably already know where I'm going with this. One of the questions that was asked was, how do we influence our children for the next generation? Right. Or for the word of God.
Yes.
Right. And I remember there was 4 of us that spoke, and the microphone, it was during a Q&A, and the microphone was down the other end. Right. And Billy started. And then my son, who I shared the stage with that day, Malachi, he got the microphone. This is unprompted. Nobody knew this question was happening. And he said, I see my dad's Bible every day. Right. You were there.
Yep.
He said, I see my dad's Bible out every day. He said, I understood it was important to him. And that it filled me with so much joy, not just to hear my son say it. I did that on purpose. He didn't know that. I never said anything to him.
Right.
Right. This was me. I always laid my Bible out on purpose somewhere it had to be picked up.
Right.
Always on the couch, oftentimes, because I was up at 4 o'clock in the morning, nobody else would get up for hours.
Right.
Right. I would leave it on we had like an ottoman, like a footstool type thing. Like it was somewhere there, or on the couch where I had been praying and studying. And so it was somewhere it had to be picked up every morning. Every morning. And I did that on purpose because I wanted them to know Dad's been here.
Right.
I can see his Bible. Dad's been here. That influence, just that.
Yeah.
Right. Just that influenced him. And he understood what was important to me. Right. We are leading our sons and daughters somewhere.
Yes.
Where are we leading them to? Right. As fathers, you were leading, like there is no neutral ground.
Right.
Right. You're not just, frolicking through life and, there's
rainbows and sunshine.
Right. No, you were leading them somewhere.
Yeah. You are.
Wherever you were going, they were following you.
Yes.
And men, we have to grasp this. We have to understand this. We have to understand. I was talking and I did a podcast, and I hope that all of you go back and listen to it if you haven't listened to it, with Mike McCauley. And I'm going to have his son on here real soon. But whenever I was interviewing his son before the podcast, the way that he talked about his dad, right? The way that I got to hear him talk about his son, it was so beautiful, right? The influence there, the building of this foundation, right, of biblical principles and stuff. And I mean, men, we don't understand our purpose.
Right.
We don't understand the power of our influence.
Yes.
Right. Which is something we're all about, right?
Right.
This is something we preach all the time. We do not understand the power of our influence.
Right.
Ben, you have to. If you don't, you have to pray for it.
Yes.
You have. It's too important. It's too important for us to negate. It's too important for us to just sit on the sidelines and say, listen, I'm just going to pass by this time. I'm not going to be the influencer. I'm not going. It's too important for us not to.
Right.
And men, you've got to get this. So I know this has been a little bit longer. We need to land this plane, but I want us to understand it. I want us to understand that, men, you are important.
Yes.
You are important as a father. You are important as a father to the kingdom of God. God uses you to change the next generation, to raise the next generation. He has gifted you with children to spread the gospel.
Yeah.
That is our jobs. It is a heavy weight, but men, we can do this. We can, even if you have failed to this point, there is grace. Start today.
Right.
Start today. Get in your word. Lead your children to the feet of Jesus. Lead them there. Men, know that we love you. No, more importantly, God loves you. He is for you. He wants to see you succeed. Don't forget about the book, Framework for Biblical Masculinity. Listen, guys, if you enjoyed what you heard here today, you need to like and share, comment. The more that you do those things, it gets higher up in the algorithm. It gives the content accessible to more people.
Yes.
Share it as much as you can. And listen, guys, we do this for you, right? This is what we do. We do this for you, and because we want to see you succeed. We want to see you grow. And as always, I want to end in a prayer. Holy Spirit, teach us to be leaders of our homes, of our communities, and of our churches, and teach us to be godly, courageous men. In Jesus' name, amen.
You've been listening to Real Men Talk. If you'd like to get in touch with us, shoot us an email, realmen@palaceofpraise.com, or visit our website at realmenministries.us. You can also message us through social media. If you're a man age 16 and up and would like to be a part of the conversation, join us at the Palace of Praise every Thursday night at 6:30 p.m. If you don't have a home church, consider joining us for worship on Sundays at 10:30 a.m. and 6 p.m. Palace of Praise is located at 1400 Herschel Best Boulevard in Poplar Bluff, Missouri. New episodes of Real Men Talk drop every Thursday at 5 p.m. on all major podcast platforms. You can also find us on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, X, and Facebook. Real Men Talk is a production of Real Men Studios in cooperation with Palace Media Services.